Preface. Negotiation can be termed as a result-oriented discussion or conversation between two or more people with the purpose being reaching a mutually beneficial conclusion. In most instances, the result benefits all parties, but there are times some or single member of that party carries the day. With negotiation skill, one can easily resolve differences among the participants in that discussion to achieve a beneficial outcome for the groups and individuals involved in the negotiation process. Not everyone has what it takes to negotiate beneficially. Some skills are required to do this successfully. Be that as it may, virtually everyone can learn these skills. Individuals working with marketing and sales portfolio will benefit a lot from negotiation skills. It is normal for each of the customers to insist on having his or her way, but a good negotiator knows how to find a common meeting ground between the customer and the company he or she is representing. The skillful negotiator can find a mutually advantageous position for all the parties involved. The skills of negotiation are critical to all business managers and leaders. They require particular idea and strategies for negotiation since they will be at the center of cutting deals for the organization. Good negotiation skills are useful for business promotion and conflict resolution, which is why they are being included in leadership training programs in the business world today. The information available on negotiation is huge. However, texts like this one seek to simplify the available information as much as possible to give the reader something straight to the point and easy to understand. As a busy executive with limited time to spare for reading, you will find this text a handy and simplified helpmate to guide you on the intricacies and secrets of business negotiation. Being busy means an executive has limited time to study in preparation for day-to-day negotiations, but with the information provided here, preparing for those negotiations will be quicker and the end point will ensure more helpful ideas for the organization. Negotiation can be complex, and the company representative needs to be adequately prepared to meet with and overcome the challenges involved. The skills to be learned in this text, aside from being used in business negotiation, will also find usefulness in managing good business deals, protecting the company against competition, handling difficult conversations, and resolving conflicts. The content in this text looks at negotiation from various perspectives and consider various parameters, including the simple and complex ones. As much as possible, the complex ones are simplified for a better understanding of the reader. Details are given to some of the specific tactics utilized in the course of by certain professionals in this area. Examples of the techniques to be considered are a compromise, collaboration, divulging true intentions, spotting and using deceptions, and several others. The text is simply invaluable to every goal-oriented negotiator. It can improve team building, buying, and selling. Some skills are required for negotiation to achieve the desired end goal, and some of the important skills will be discussed in this text. You will learn some of the games being played during the negotiation and therefore become a better player in these games. The information provided here will equally teach the reader how to predict the various sequences of negotiation activities. Furthermore, the text will simplify the tactics and strategies of many frontline players in the negotiation game. Some rules in the negotiation game are proven to lead to success. Some of these rules will be mentioned in this text. Introduction. Negotiation takes place at all times and in virtually all places, be it in a conference room, via a lawsuit, at board meetings, dressed in expensive suits or pyjamas. It takes place in business places, government offices, and even in the home, though it takes different forms for each instance. The concept is not limited to the boardroom alone. It can be between a husband and his wife, between a boss and his subordinate, or even among friends. Negotiation can be classified into 3 stages. These stages occur every day and everywhere we go. Check below for these 3 stages. 3 main stages of negotiation. First, information exchange. Second, bargaining. Third, closing a deal. Furthermore, negotiation can be classified into 2 main types, which are, first, distributive negotiation, and second, integrative negotiation. Disruptive negotiation. It has to do with a fixed total. In this type, each of the parties involved attempts to gain as much as it can. One of the best examples includes bargaining over the cost of a dress with a seller. There is no relationship formation among the parties involved in this form of negotiation, which means the information shared is kept confidential. Both parties involved make an effort to get information from one another. Integrative negotiation. This type is built solely on cooperation. Both parties involved in this type are of the opinion that they can get their desired benefits from it without making any significant investment. Problem-solving represents the major approach in this form of negotiation. In this type, both parties involved are permitted to consider problems with low priority. Cooperation and trust are the main ingredients of this form of negotiation, lack of which will prevent the parties involved to get the desired results. The place of knowledge in negotiation cannot be overemphasized. The more knowledgeable party will almost always have the upper hand. The knowledge being referred to here has to do with knowledge of the subject matter on which the negotiation is all about. The more knowledgeable a party is, the stronger their position in that negotiation. The party that starts the negotiation process can one way or the other have upper hand in it. This means you should allow the other party to begin the negotiation process, as this can give you the desired upper hand. The 3 stages earlier mentioned define the processes involved in the negotiation. There is a need for adequate preparation before the negotiation process starts. Performance or outcome of the negotiation can be determined by the level and seriousness of the preparation. Below are some of the common strategies to consider before you enter into a negotiation. First, walkaway price, WAP. Second, best alternative to a negotiated agreement, BATNA. Third, worst alternative to a negotiated agreement, WATNA. Your position in a negotiation should be kept secret as much as possible. Giving out hints can hurt you in the final run. If you allow the other party to know your weak point, they can bank on it to hurt you. Never show them any sign of desperation to keep your position intact. Before the negotiation takes place, take some time to collect adequate information regarding the issue to be handled in the course of the negotiation process. Relationships may end up being harmed by the time the negotiation process is over. It is left for both parties involved to mend fences and smoothen any edge after they are through with the negotiation, irrespective of who won at the end of the day. Qualities of a good negotiator. A good negotiator should be able to grant a concession, which is one of the principal qualities in negotiation. While it may be difficult to get all your expectations from a negotiation, you should aim at getting as much as you can out of it. Aside from concession ability, a good negotiator should also speak with focus and listen actively. Active listening can help you to pick out any hint that can give away the hidden position of the other party, enabling you to decipher how they plan to play their cards. This will undoubtedly give you an upper hand in the negotiation process. Focused speaking is necessary for establishing your needs and level of acceptance without forgetting the needs of the other negotiating party. Certain skills are required for successful negotiation, and they are highlighted below. First, sense of humor. Second, respect for the other party. Third, effective listening. Fourth, positive attitude. Fifth, efficient speaking. You need to have both a positive attitude and sense of humor for success in a negotiation process. Be that as it may, overdoing the sense of humor can give up your position of advantage. This is to say, you should play the game close to your chest even while trying to add humor to the negotiation. Despite the place of importance of both positive attitude and sense of humor, they do not always work, which means you cannot always expect the duo to win the negotiation for you. While being positive, make sure you also consider issues from the perspective of the other party. Set your heart towards getting everything you can out of a negotiation. Do not forget that the other party too will work towards getting all they can get out of it. It will therefore turn out to a battle of wit and survival of the fittest. No matter how seemingly heated up the argument is, mutual respect must always be observed by all parties involved. If you must demand concession from the other party, you too should be ready to make concessions. Despite the willingness to make a concession, never forget that your main aim is to get all the benefits you can from the negotiation. It is good to have regard for the other party, but your respect and regard for them should not be enough excuse to give up your advantage. As a good negotiator, you must always emphasize on balance. The purpose of giving or taking concession is to secure your advantage. As much as possible, avoid being beaten down to a minimum. Certain attributes that can affect negotiation are: first, self-confidence; second, patience; third, persistence; fourth, creativity; fifth, emotional intelligence. Chapter 1. Preparing for a negotiation. You need to carry out adequate preparation before venturing into negotiation. Negotiation is a challenging task, and only the better prepared can end up having the upper hand. Before the negotiation, first determine your limitations, considerations, and desires. Even if you are a member of a negotiation team, do not depend on the herd knowledge. Rather, carry out personal research. If you are not well prepared before a negotiation process, you may end up giving the other party more than what you achieve through the process. During the negotiation, you must implement your strongest bargaining attributes, which is only possible if you are adequately determined to get the best possible out of the negotiation process. Establishing BATNA and WEATNA. As a negotiator, you should have an apparent understanding about both BATNA and WEATNA. Lacking such knowledge will hamper your concession-making ability. It will make you feel you can get away with only the best result from the negotiation. If both parties understand and are willing to establish BATNA and WEATNA, they may be compelled to consider possible alternatives to a negotiated agreement. Negotiation would not be needed in an ideal situation. It is considered by many only when it becomes necessary. Negotiators first analyze both WEATNA and BATNA and use the outcome of such analysis to determine the necessity of negotiation. If you lack the knowledge of BATNA and WEATNA, you may find yourself in a fool's paradise, accepting that you can get what you want out of the negotiation process. The final result obtained in a negotiation built on limited knowledge can be poor and unhelpful to your negotiation cause. Your knowledge of WEATNA is fundamental where purposeful negotiation is required. Never forget also to consider the worst-case scenario before the negotiating kicks off. This will get you prepared for eventualities. BATNA has been shown to be of more importance than WEATNA. You will be compelled to go into negotiation with the hope that you will get an acceptable agreement if negotiated agreements are not present. Furthermore, it is imperative to deduce the walk-away price, WAP, appropriately. In general, WAP is less than the starting offer. Be that as it may, never allow the other party to know that you are considering a WAP. If they have such information, it will weaken your negotiation position. They will find a way to maneuver you into that WAP to wrap up the negotiation quickly. Choosing the right venue and time. The venue and time choice should be considered as an essential aspect of negotiation preparation. When choosing a location, try to compel the other party to accept an area well accustomed to you. Having a negotiation in your known waters can give you the desired upper hand. In which time of the day do you feel clear-headed and alert the most? It will also be okay if you can compel the other party to agree meeting you around that time for the negotiation. Certain environmental factors are also known to influence the outcomes of a negotiation. Some of these factors are low privacy, crowd, interruptions, and noise. Negotiation at your preferred location. This is synonymous to what happens in a football match. The home team usually has a better chance of winning since they are playing on their turf. Negotiation at your preferred location almost always give you the desired upper hand. You need to set up certain principles in this situation. Remember that you can end up as the victim if your chosen principles get compromised, which can become the case if you encounter a very aggressive negotiator. Setting a framework stands out as the initial step for negotiation, even though it seems like a mere formality. Conclusively, you stand a better chance if the negotiation takes place at your preferred location and time. Negotiating at a different location. Location and time choice will not always favour you. There are times the other party may have the upper hand in choosing the time and location of a negotiation. When this becomes the case, make all effort possible to compel the other party to compensate as much as possible. Your host is already acclimatized to the environment, while you, on the other hand, are trying to study the environment, which can have a considerable effect on the negotiation outcome. Negotiation time. Aside from location, time can also determine your success or lack thereof in a negotiation. As an individual, your mind and body function differently at different times during the day. Do you feel more active in the morning, or you feel better at some other time? It is beneficial to fix the negotiation time to that period when you are more active. Negotiation taking place at your perfected location and time can be trusted to yield the desired fruit. Factors involved in a negotiation. The series of processes involved in a negotiation are: first, opening the negotiation. Second, setting up expectations. Third, closing the negotiation. Each of the steps above can be broken down further as described below. Step 1. Opening the negotiation. First, have a clear understanding of your commitments. Second, make known to the other party the depth of your concerns. Third, make sure the position you have described is realistic. Fourth, maintain the flexibility of your opening position. Fifth, you can build stronger trust by making larger hand movements. Step 2. Bargaining. First, question the negotiation partner for more information. Second, make sure the other side justify their assumed position properly. Third, challenge and question their commitments. Fourth, state the most relevant of your concerns. Fifth, give a summary of the various arguments and look for possible way forward. Step 3. End of the negotiation. First, begin from low priority items and work your way towards the high priority items. Second, do not settle for your VAT&A only. Third, make your concessions very wisely. Fourth, be expectant and make sure you get something out of the negotiation. Fifth, your closing arguments are best done using smaller hand movements. Sixth, do not deviate from the benefits of all the parties involved. Seventh, be careful while making the final offer. Eighth, make sure that all the agreements are properly attested after documentation. Chapter 2. Information exchange. Information exchange is the first stage of a negotiation. This is the point where all the parties involved will make known their views on the subject matter. This is best done in a non-confronting manner. Be very careful at this point when deciding on what to hide and what to show. You will end up revealing certain fractions of your hidden position while sharing information with the other party. Be that as it may, do not give up too much information to prevent shooting yourself in the leg. Before you place your card on the table, you can take time to have a little chat with the representatives of the other party. This strategy can set a positive vibe that can be useful in the course of the discussion. In the course of the little chat, the two of you may end up finding common meeting grounds on several issues. You may end up having similar likes or dislikes. You may appear too aggressive or hasty to the other party if you jump into the negotiation process immediately without giving adequate time for familiarization. This may be read as a sign of desperation by the other party. Jumping into the negotiation immediately may also have its benefits, but the little informal chat can prove helpful in the course of the negotiation. Be that as it may, never forget to stick to formality during the preliminary and introductory aspects of the negotiation. Never fail to present yourself to the other party as a friendly and relaxed person. However, maintain some form of restraint while doing this. Do not attempt to bleed the other party dry during the negotiation. If you do, you will force them to assume a defensive position, which will not augur well for your result. Patience during negotiation. Never fail to set up the framework during a negotiation patiently. Maintain and give a sign of patience while at the negotiation table. Also, never allow the other party to hurry you up in the least. They may want to hurry you up because they are afraid they may end up giving up too much of their position if the discussion lingers longer than necessary. Their plan to hurry you up may also be because they want to decipher as much of your position as possible. Do not give them this liberty. Restraint and patience will work for you in the course of the negotiation process. Do not be hasty to complete the negotiation. If not, you may end up being seen as a fleeter seeking to escape from the negotiation to avoid suffering huge losses. When the other party attempts to hurry you up, do not give in to their promptings. You will hurt your position if you do. Prepare a negotiation agenda. Never forget to set up an agenda for the negotiation. This is one of the best ways to move forward in the process. When setting up an agenda, consider the points below. First, which information should be held back and which should be divulged? Answering this question can be difficult. Whichever way you handle this, do not give the other party an impression that you are keeping secrets. Second, at the same time, make sure your bargaining position reaches maturity before you give it away. The two parties involved in a negotiation may be compelled to maintain an initial defensive stance, which will enable them to understand whom they are dealing with. Both parties can have the opportunity to assess each other if they deal the agenda first. This will make it easier to anticipate what the other party plans to obtain from the negotiation. It will also be easier to have a clearer understanding of the subject matter. Important considerations before bargaining. The core of any negotiation is composed of the bargaining process. Another word for negotiation is bargaining. Before you can understand the necessities, targets and pressures that are affecting the other party, it is helpful to acquire as much information as possible about their negotiation approach. You can ask them the questions below to gain an insight into the approach the other party plans to adopt in the course of the negotiation. First, do they have the intention of manipulating the situation to their advantage? Second, are they going to rush into a conclusion? Third, will they make an unreasonable offer when starting the negotiation? Since you may not be able to ask these questions directly, you may have to resort to trials and errors to get the desired answers. You can contact any of your associates or acquaintances that might have sat at the negotiation table with the other party in the past, if you have such a contact. The individual can hint you on what to expect from the other party during the negotiation. Even if the contact cannot be specific, he or she can give you several hints and personal viewpoints about the other party. You can take advantage of the information revealed to you about the other party. For example, if the other party is known to rush into conclusion, you can decide to stand firm on your assumed position and refuse to budge easily. This will unavoidably increase the pressure on them, and they may be forced to accede to your terms. In the course of negotiation, find a way to know your opponent's necessities, targets and pressure. You can get the desired edge by breaking these down before the negotiation starts. You can use the information they reveal to your advantage if they give up much information in the early part of the negotiation. Never forget to take note of all the information revealed by the other party. They can be useful at a later stage of the negotiation process. Your chance of success in the negotiation increases with the increase of the amount of information available to you. Keep this in mind that no information is unimportant. First offer technique. This offer gets implemented especially when you are aware you cannot meet the offer being brought forward by the other party. There is hope that the other party will offer the highest possible deal between WNTA and BNTA. This will prompt the competitors to counterattack by proffering another exaggerated offer. The person using this technique will hope that the other party will be tricked to make a deal without deciphering the advantage this trick has for him. Do not be deceived by a negotiator telling you that he is making you that special offer because he likes you. It is a well-known trick. Chapter 3. How to handle a standoff. Despite all your preparations against the negotiation, there are times a stalemate may not be avoidable. In such instances, making progress may become unachievable. This deadlock scenario can play out when there is disagreement in the course of the negotiation. Several things can be done to manage this bottleneck situation and enable you to come out unscathed. Is money at the foundation of the impasse? Then why not try to change the terms? If the period of payment is too short or the deposit being demanded is too big, then you can raise the bar a bit to give both parties an opportunity to make progress in the negotiation. You can also attempt being more agreeable if the problems are simple enough. Then you can keep the tougher problems till later. If the problem is too difficult to handle, the two parties can agree to suspend discussion on it till a later date. The break will give both parties the opportunity to identify other available options. Be very careful about your moves, statements or actions during an impasse. This may give you off to the other party as being weak. If it is not handled carefully, a standoff is capable of stealing the spotlight of your negotiation. There are some proven tips to help you steer your way out of an impasse. These points are highlighted below. First, continue to practice the various tactics involved in negotiation until you achieve perfection before the time of the negotiation. Second, be open to the possibility of accepting compromise when an impasse surfaces. Third, make sure you do not lose sight of timing. Fourth, be ready to commit and also expect commitment from the other party. Fifth, it is time to drop some of your egos. Sixth, be passionate about the problems of the other party. Seventh, it is time to listen actively to both the verbal and non-verbal communications. Eighth, do not let your principles slip off. Ninth, do not hold back from demanding for what you want. 10th, always close the discussion with assured confirmation from the other party. Working towards mutual gain. Despite the deadlock, the two parties should find a way to arrive at an agreement that will benefit both parties. It is normal to be committed to a particular position before and during the negotiation. However, you should know when to shift ground a bit when an impasse comes up. If not, progress may never be attainable. Always give your complete attention to the interest of both parties and not your position. Discipline and respect should be your watchwords during the negotiation. This way, you can make decisions that can benefit both parties and help you steer clear of an impasse. When in an impasse, make an effort to see things from the perspective of the other party. Consider their stance and pick out those points that apply to sense. Identifying such points can help you to make the right decisions when shifting your ground. The two of you will not always agree on every point presented during the negotiation, but you can work your ways towards a compromise in which both parties benefit at the end of the day. Both parties involved in the negotiation should work towards achieving a perfect balance between their compromises and desires. Creating mutual gain solution. At times, you may have to implement certain steps unrelated to negotiations in an attempt to create mutual benefit for both parties involved in the negotiation. This involves both parties investigating the problems together and coming up with several options that can help them overcome the impasse. This will enable the parties to explore common philosophies towards meeting the common interests of both parties involved. Both parties may have to diminish or enlarge the scope of the negotiation to attain the desired mutual gain. As hinted earlier, not all the problems may be solvable in the current negotiation. Both parties should identify those knotty problems that may need to be postponed to a later date and agree on pushing them forward. An impasse can ensure if one of the parties feels it is being marginalized regarding its working potential and what it truly deserves. This problem can be solved by both parties pushing aside their differences and concentrating on their similarities. Having preset VAP can culminate to a great challenge for both parties, especially when the VAP of one party is different from that of the other. This is one of the ingredients for a stalemate. Certain sticking points will almost always remain, no matter the extent of the negotiation. Ability to remove the sticking points can help both parties to come to a consensus. After completing the negotiation, both parties can break down their statements into several points for future references. It is important for you to know the entire offer being put forward by the other party during the negotiation. Do not consent to their demands without having a full knowledge of what those demands are, to avoid putting yourself in a very tight, disadvantageous position. This will force you to give away virtually everything you have to offer. During the negotiation, you must know when to stop, when to talk, and what to say. It will be beneficial for you if you divide your statements into necessities and desires, especially if your statement is not clear. Never forget to investigate all available opportunities to increase your chances for a mutual gain. You can ask the question below to brighten your chance during the negotiation. First, what does your company desire from this negotiation? Second, what are the things the other party considered as the least important regarding the scope of this negotiation? Third, what does the other party consider as the most important? Fourth, what are their main desires? Fifth, what are their needs? Find out the similarities in your desires and necessities by comparing them all. This way, all the parties involved can get the best out of the negotiation. Chapter 4. Closing the deal. A deal is closed when the parties involved in the negotiation have reached a consensus and have built an agreement. At this stage, you can further improve your position or what you can get out of the negotiation by applying just little effort. Before the two parties can reach a consensus, they must have concluded on their different ideas and achieved an agreement. Also, they must agree together on a common method of implementation of the agreement. The consensus can be signified via signed document, public announcement, or final handshake. The terms of the agreement should be stated clearly for both parties to understand before they proceed to close the deal. The consensus. The constituents of a consensus can be perceived differently by the participants in a negotiation. Important issues must be backed by serious agreements from both parties to avoid ambiguity or misunderstanding. It must be stated that all the parties involved in the negotiation will not come out with all their expectations, but the terms of the agreement will ensure both parties go home with something tangible. Even if all the individual desires are not met, at least all should see the terms as being acceptable. Building a consensus is not easy in the least, especially since the parties involved in the negotiation would have come with different visions and expectations. Both parties can read different meanings to a consensus. Some can see it as an undesired compromise if the outcome does not satisfy all their desires. Be that as it may, it should be noted that the consensus should not necessarily satisfy all the parties involved in the negotiation, but be found acceptable by as many of the parties as possible. A consensus can be considered as acceptable if it leaves none of the parties involved unsatisfied. In an ideal situation, all the parties should end up being totally and equivalently pleased by the outcome of the consensus. However, it is unfortunate that nothing is ideal in the present world. Some people will be pleased, while some other set of people will be displeased with the outcome of the negotiation and the consequent consensus. You should not push for a 100% satisfaction in a negotiation. If care is not taken, you may resultantly come out with 0% satisfaction. The outcome of the negotiation should be focused on giving certain percentages of satisfaction to all the parties involved. Even though the outcome may not go down well with some participants, having certain percentage satisfaction by all involved is still acceptable. The agreement. You should be able to generate a specific statement from a general one to build an agreement out of a negotiation. During the agreement stage of the negotiation process, bargaining is already over, and this should be appreciated and accepted by all parties involved. At this point, the focus of everyone should be on how to make concluding agreements, which must be built on the precise and unbiased vision of the consensus. You should be very careful not to give too much away while making the final agreement. Make sure you pay a very close attention to the agreement and its content. Find out if the negotiation has been able to solve all the problems tabled in the deal before acceding to the said agreement. If not, you may end up with a nasty shock after the agreement is finally formalized. Terms of agreement. The terms of agreement need to be communicated clearly to all the parties involved in the negotiation. Failure to do this can culminate to uncomfortable outcomes. The terms of the agreement can be seen as a written document to which both parties involved in a negotiation have acceded and accepted as their responsibilities about the subject matter. It is more or less a plan agreed upon by both parties to follow towards accomplishing the subject matter. Having a good understanding of the agreements is not enough. It should be properly documented and signed, failure of which nullifies the purpose and achievements of the negotiation. Failure to document and sign an agreement may tempt the parties to assume a lackadaisical disposition to the terms of the agreement. The terms of the agreement should be stated specifically in written form to make the agreement successful. The terms of the agreement should never be left as a theoretical entity, but should be practically effected so that it can hold its true meaning. After the agreement has been reached, documented and signed, all the parties involved should now concentrate on how to bring the terms of the agreement to effect. Aside from agreeing on what to do, all the parties should also agree on when and how to do it. While every phase of the negotiation is very critical, the implementation stage can be considered as the most important stage of them all. The terms of the agreement should not only be limited to what to do, but should also give attention to how to do it. If not, the agreement is far from being useful. The productivity of the negotiation will be in view if both parties refuse to focus on individual persons, but on the issues that matter. The personal attack can occur if one of the parties think they can gain the upper hand by attacking the opposing party, feel their self-esteem is harmed, that their position is being sidelined, feel they are being disrespected or mistreated by the terms of the agreement. At times, a personal attack can be negated by showing the other parties some measure of respect regarding their position. Respect and regard for the other party should be observed right from the start of the negotiation, and this can prevent the possibility of a personal attack. Regard for their opinions and stands will create a positive environment which will make the negotiation more amicable and fruitful. A negotiation can yield the desired fruit faster if all parties involved are friendly, empathetic, compassionate, and ambient in their dispositions. It is, however, unfortunate that things do not always turn out to be so. Experience has shown that many negotiations end up growing aggressive as they progress, even if they started amicably. Since aggression rarely achieves the desired result, it will be in the best interest of all the parties involved to keep things as amicable as possible. This can best be done by keeping emotions in check. When things are getting somewhat rough during a negotiation, it may be better to walk away and come back to it later. This may become necessary if you start feeling threatened by the other party involved in the negotiation. Let the other party know that you are already feeling uncomfortable by its aggressive, unhealthy disposition. Never hesitate to take your leave if there is no clear change of disposition. It may also be in your best interest to walk away if the other party begins to implement unfair tactics during the negotiation. While it is important to reach an agreement on the subject matter, your safety and psychological well-being should also be considered. While looking out for unruly behavior on the part of the other party, you also should desist from making the other party uncomfortable as much as possible. Conclusion. This text has delved extensively into some helpful techniques and strategies for effective negotiation. You have been taught about the various steps involved in a negotiation and how to get things done in such a way to protect the interest of the two parties involved. You have also been shown how to handle an aggressive negotiation, how to reach a final agreement, and the best way to manage the agreements arising from the negotiation. Be that as it may, you will need more than the information provided here to become a complete expert in the art of negotiation. The information provided here is designed just to give you an idea of what to expect in a negotiation and give you the required foundational knowledge on which you can build more knowledge.